Hi guys, so today I want to talk to you about a card that I used to overlook, and a lot of people did, and I think is going to make a comeback here, and that's Admiral Chiraneau for Star Wars Armada. I think he's an officer that basically was overcosted and undervalued for a long time because of the time that he came out and what came out with him. But I think he's starting to see a little bit more use, and I figured out some ways that I could use him. And I think that I wanted to share that with you. And I think a lot of it has to do with the Corellian conflict. When you're part of a team that can't share any unique named, titles or named personnel, that it kind of forces you to take take a harder look at certain cards that you might have overlooked, and take some things that you might not have chosen otherwise. So in my case, we're running a Corellian conflict, and I'm playing the Empire, and I wanted to use Dengar. But I couldn't use Dengar because somebody else on my team already has him. So then I just started looking at a regular Jump Master, which was 12 points. And because points are an issue, I was looking at ways that I could get a certain number of upgrades into my fleet without, for as few points as possible. And I started to realize I was just 2 points over where I needed to be. And I looked at Admiral Chiraneau for only 10, and I'm like, well, he's cheaper than a Jump Master, but will he work for me? And typically you would rather have a Jump Master in a Rhymer Ball formation, but I'm not running a Rhymer Ball formation. Somebody else on my team has Major Rhymer, and as a result, all of my squadrons don't have to be close together. The squadrons I'm running, a lot of them have Rogue, some of them don't, and I'm looking at adding some Lambda shuttles. So I kind of want to show you what I'm doing and how I think it can work, and maybe for certain builds, you might want to take another look at Admiral Chiraneau. All right, so here's a scenario that you've probably seen before. I've got a Victory Star Destroyer here, and I've got a small Rhymer Ball being obstructed by some some enemy ships here. And the idea is, for the longest time, that you would use Dengar. And when it's time to activate, if they came at you from this angle and Dengar was behind, you just move Dengar up a little bit. He hits everybody here in range 1. Gives him all heavy, allowing everybody behind him the ability to shoot, while Rhymer here hits everybody behind. Those who are farthest behind are out of range anyway, and you can shoot. Dengar's 20 points, or a regular Jump Master's 12 points, you're fine. But suppose you're not going for the Rhymer Ball. Suppose you're trying to split up. Suppose you have, we'll just do less squadrons, and maybe you're using you're using some Lambda shuttles going after objectives. Well, let's say I just have a screen defense here, and I start sending my shuttles out after the objectives. And I get entangled there, and entangled here, and my screen defense is there, and so I just have the one tie. Well, now, with Chiraneau, I have the option, there we go. With Chiraneau, I have the option to split everything up. And maybe this he's out of range. Medium range would only be about to right here. So, but they have relay. And Chiraneau affects anybody I activate. So this guy can now ignore this guy, totally move here, and pull this objective back closer to me. Or actually, probably, he would move about to right there, move this closer to me. He can even stay engaged, but he can move and do what he needs to do. That's great for Maul or Mythal as well. This guy right here can move out of engagement, bring this back here, and then this last guy here can, if he is engaged already, he can just move. If it's a regular TIE fighter, but let's assume it was Maul or Mythal, he can move and just cause a damage to everybody else near him. He can only move at speed 2, but for Lambdas at least, they're only speed 3 anyway, so they weren't going to move that far. As a matter of fact, the difference is negligible. Let's see, in this case, they could have only moved to here, so it's only stopping them from going that far. Not really that much of a difference. And 1 to 2 is still far enough to get out of engagement. And by the way, that keeps your Lambdas being able to shoot as well. And now that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but they do have 2 black dice for anti-squadron. And black dice are actually really good for anti-squadron, even only 2. Personally, I'll take 2 black dice over 3 blue dice, because I think I'm more likely to get regular hits that way, because I have 2
On a blue dice, your crits don't matter, but on a black dice, your crits also have hits on them. So black dice are great, actually. And so if I can move this guy and then move objective tokens in, as well as being able to shoot, I'm going to do it. That's fantastic. So I really like the lambdas for that. Plus relay of 2. If I had more squadrons out here, then I don't even have to, and suppose I'm not even using an objective that has, or maybe it's not even an objective that has, activation tokens. Well, then I can still split everything up. Let's say you tied me up there and tied me up here. You flew 2 X-Wings in, for example. Well, with Chiraneau, I can, maybe Luke's only got 1 health left. I activate Mauler Mythil, boom, attacks, or maybe he just regular attacks. Almost any attack's going to kill Luke at that point. And then I can go over here. Whereas if it were a Jump Master, I would have only been able to work on this side. And I mean, granted, this is close enough to jump across. I can't fit everything on the board, but let's suppose I'm on 2 different halves of the map, or well out of engagement range. It allows you to really split up what you want to do and still move things around. So, and it just combos really well with the Lambda on either case because of the fact that they have relay and they have strategic. So you can do both in that case. You can move, shoot with the Lambda, and also do strategic, or you can ignore the Lambda and count on its ability to move later on, potentially, depending on how much you're engaged with. And so another thing I want to talk about is Admiral Chiraneau with boosted comms on there as well. And this is just another option for it, but boosted comms gives you even more flexibility. So let's assume, for example, that I want to have the options of, I want to send my lambdas straight out, all right away, and I deploy them as far out as I can, and do it in 2 different parts. I have one over here, and let's say this is the whole board, right? But I also want to have some fighters close for defense. Well, let's say they send, A-Wings after him, an X-Wing after him, but then they take the rest of their squads and they do come at me. Well, now I don't have to rely just on these guys because I can use boosted comms. I can have a big wide bubble around my own ship. With boosted comms, I can hit up to range 5, as well as having them. So I can basically hit anywhere on the whole board. So now this turns Admiral Chiraneau kind of into the equivalent of having 3 or even 4 Jump Masters protecting everything you've got. Not really protecting everything you've got, but giving you a lot of flexibility. And he can even work with Jump Masters. If you are running a Rhymer Ball, I still suggest having a Jump Master. But if you're not doing a Rhymer Ball and you don't need everything centrally located, Chiraneau is a great way for you to be able to split everybody up and say, all right, tie up whoever you want. It won't be enough because we're still going to be able to move. And we're still going to be able to, or just get past you and go straight for your ships, or be able to double team. You tie up this guy and that guy. Well, this guy goes here, and now we double attack this one who already had to spend, or if it was an A-Wing, if Tycho already had to spend his scatter, well, now I can break away and go after him. Now you have to, choose to, lose your scatter permanently or something like that. It just gives you a lot of options, and a lot of it is primarily because of the Lambda for the strategic value and for the relay. So that's Chiraneau, and that's a victory with Chiraneau and boosted comms. It could also, this combination could probably work on a lot of different ships. I put it on a victory here, but you could do this on a Gazanti as well. And you could even do this on an interdictor. So, there's just some options, but the victory kind of gives you the better squad value. I mean, you could do it on an ISD also if you want to do 4 or even 5. You could, or just change out boosted comms for the hangar bay, and then expended hangar bay, and you could even hit 5 guys with Chiraneau, especially if they're spread out and they're all over the place. So there's a lot more options here. So I'm anxious to hear what you are coming up with for this.
All right, guys, so thank you so much for watching, and I appreciate all the comments and likes that you guys have been giving me. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and stay tuned for more content. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.